Hey guys, Lisa here. Welcome to my little podcast about knitting, spinning, and other creative pursuits. My name is Lisa, and I come to you from the Midwest of the States, right outside Chicago, Illinois, where I teach math at the high school, and I'm currently on summer vacation. And so I guess doing this podcast is another one of my creative pursuits. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you're a first-time viewer, thanks for checking me out. And if you're a returning viewer, I really, really appreciate you tuning in. And for those of you that have reached out and commented, reached out to me on Instagram, on Ravelry, in the comments in YouTube, it really means the world to me. And also, I mean, any podcast, if you really like their podcast, if you can make a comment, I think it's really, really appreciated. So, and I do truly appreciate your company and for spending some time with me. So I'm going to jump right into today's episode. Today is going to include some finished knitting, finished spinning, some fleece preparation, and I wanted to talk about the sheep of the week. I think I'm going to add that component to my podcast. I absolutely love sheep's wool. I am a collector of fleeces. I have several fleeces of different types, and I thought it would be interesting to do a sort of a sheep study with the podcast, so that every episode I could maybe showcase one of the fleeces that I have and what I'm doing with them, and my feelings and about the processing and things of that nature. So that'll be in just a little bit. So let's jump right into finished knits. Last time I spoke with you, I was just working on the back of my Deshane pullover by Leila Robb. This is a pattern from Quince & Company. It's out of their Kestrel. And it's a very oversized, boxy top. It's actually really cute. I'll insert a picture here of me wearing it. I knit this out of the Byzantine colorway, which is a beautiful, beautiful purple. I love the way this linen picks up light. Now I bought 11 skeins, and I only used 8. So I have 3 of these beautiful skeins here. I don't know really what I'm going to do with them. I was thinking I could make a little kerchief or maybe a little tea towel or something. They are only 76 yards. I kind of wish they would put these yarns in a larger put-up, because 76 yards doesn't get you very far. But as I was saying, the put-ups are rather small. So Quince & Company, you're not going to be listening to me, but you should make bigger hanks. People would be happy to spend more money if they were larger skeins. It'd be a lot easier to work from. So overall, I'm really happy with the project. There were quite a lot of ends to weave in. So yes, what I was saying is that there's lots of ends to weave in, and I just did not master any kind of seamless way or easy way to weave in the ends. But overall, I'm very happy with the project, and I still have to cut my ends. I wove them in, but I'm a little worried because the yarn is so slippery. I'm going to use a little fray check, I think, sewers where I have woven in the ends, just to make sure that they don't come out. So yeah, what else did I want to say? I did the medium size, the second size. It said it would take 9 skeins. I only used 11. I only used 8. I did not do any extra repeats, which I'm really glad I did, because the yarn is quite heavy, and so it does stretch quite a bit in the front, and I did need the extra repeat. I'm glad I did some short rows on the back. I did 8 sets of German short rows on the back that I think really helped create like a curve on the bottom of the top. So yeah, I'm happy that I finished another garment. As I said, I'm not really a garment knitter, but I'm becoming one. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because I've actually made several garments now. So that's my big finished object, which I'm really, really happy about. So the other finished object I have is a hat. Last time, if you watched my last episode, I showed a skein of spindle spun Falkland that I had spun last year on vacation. And I was really encouraged by Jolanda of Sweet Kitty Crafts to knit with my hand spun. So I went ahead and I made this hat. This is the Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And this was a nice little break from my other projects. So I really enjoyed knitting with my hand spun. It was quite nice. Now I have not washed this yet, so probably could use a good block. But the funny thing is I'm knitting away on this little hat, and I was really excited about getting it done. Take it off the needles, put it on my head. Me and my husband are watching TV, and I said, "Hey, Mike, what do you think?" And he said, "You know, it doesn't really do anything for you." You can see it's a little bit big. So this is a hipster hat, I guess. He says it's kind of a funky hat. So I got to find a hipster to give it to. I have a niece. She likes kind of, you know, funky hats. Or I might just keep it just to walk the dog. He goes, "No, it really doesn't do anything for you." I'm like, "Oh, great. Okay, thanks." But anyway, I'm happy with it. I'm glad that I knit something with my hand spun. I think that really shows the stitches nicely. This garter here, and then the stocking in the back. So it was kind of funny. You know, you spin the yarn, you make a hat. Yeah, it really doesn't do anything for you. Anyways, so yeah, that's the Barley Hat. So those are my two finished objects. So what I have been doing since I've been off is I have been going through all of my stash. I've been going through all of my yarn, all of my fiber, all of my fleece, and just organizing it and sort of assessing where I am with everything. And I found so many knits that I had started and did not finish. So I'm picking up things. Let me go grab this real quick because it fell. So one of the things I found, I had started this project a couple years ago. I'm sorry to say, it was a couple summers ago, not last summer, the summer before. And it's such a pretty pattern with such pretty yarn. I decided I'm going to pick this up. I'm not going to cast on anything new. So I went through all of my things, and everything that I had started, I threw in a bin. I had a lot of things that I had started and not pursued and not finished. And I want to be more intentional in my making. I want to actually have things that I can wear and use, and not just start things and then put them aside for the next shiny thing. So I'm really going to make an effort to be more intentional and work on a limited number of projects at a time so that I can actually get things done. So that's the plan anyway. Of course, it is my hobby, so I shouldn't be too hard on myself. But anyway, this is the Sahara stole. Let's just show it back here like this. This is by Ilga Leha. She is a Canadian designer. And it's this really pretty undulating knits and pearls. Stockinette with garter. And then it sort of zigs and zags. And I'm knitting this out of, let me see if I can find my yarn here. Thank you for your patience, you guys. I tried this a couple of times, and then I just realized if I don't do it now, if I just don't do it and I worry about doing things right, I'm never going to do this. So I really appreciate you sticking with me. I'll get better at this, I promise, okay? This is made out of Aslan Trends Royal Alpaca. This is the crimson colorway, and it is crimson. It is 100% royal alpaca, 19 to 19.5 microns, 220 yards in one skein. And I bought, I think it was Little Knits. They have these sales where you can buy like a whole pack. It was really, really a good deal. I can't remember what I paid for it, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's very, very soft. So I have this much so far. Let's see, this is the right side, yeah. So hopefully you can see the stitches here. Isn't that pretty? I mean, this should not be sitting in a bin. This should be done. This should be knitted up and worn and, you know, and used. And I think even now, it's only partially done, but it's so, so soft. So I'm working on this ball right here. And then I've got 2 more of these. So I think I'm going to have quite a nice stole once it's all finished. So yeah, I was excited about finding this project. It's really an interesting pattern because it's not hard, but it keeps your interest. Every row you have something that you have to do. So there's the lace side where you do your knit 2-togethers and yarn overs and so on. And then on the back you do basically sort of a ribbing, you know, pearls and knits. And it's just a very, very lovely knit. And I'm hoping to actually have some stick-to-itiveness here and get this done. So I'll have another thing to show you. But yeah, it's like cashmere soft. It's so soft. I've been listening to Luli. She's got a little podcast. She makes I think she makes project bags and needle cases on Etsy, and she lives in England, and she has a lovely little podcast. And on her Ravelry group, she has something called the Stash Appreciation Society. And I'm not participating, but it got me thinking about appreciating my stash and, you know, using it up. So that's my goal. I'm keeping this in this beautiful bowl that I just got. This is a yarn bowl from Wood Beach Shop on Etsy. It's made out of yew wood. He's the father of Katie Weston, I think her name is, she's the dyer behind Hilltop Cloud. So I've been looking for one. I've been watching his shop just to see if one would come up. I just love yew wood. I don't know what it is, but I think it's all the interesting grain and markings in it. Plus the history of yew wood's really interesting. It was used for bows. I guess it's quite flexible and strong. So I bought this, and it came here in 9 days from Wales, which I thought was really, really cool. Well, in keeping with the idea to use my hand spun, I pulled out another skein out of my hand spun basket. This skein. This is a skein of singles, or do you call it a single? I'm not sure, but this was a braid from Inglenook Fiber. It's Wensleydale wool. It's purple. It's really, really pretty. I left it as a single. I spun this on my Turkish spindles. It's quite fuzzy. It's one of the long wools, Wensleydale, which has the characteristic shine and a fuzziness. This halo is what they call it. So I have this skein, and then I have this little bitty one, which was the leftovers. I don't know how that, maybe from a different spindle that I found. But I'm trying to find a pattern for this. It doesn't really have a lot of elasticity, but I was thinking of making a pair of mitts, gloves, or, you know, fingerless mitts with these. But I think I'm going to have to knit it at a fairly tight gauge because it doesn't have a ton of elasticity. So I'm going to look and see what I have in my library on Ravelry and then in my books here to see if I can find a pattern for that. So I think this is going to be my little rest project, is knitting this into a pair of gloves or fingerless mitts. Wensleydale is not a soft wool. I would not want to wear it next to my neck, but I think it would be great for could be worn on your arms, wrists, very easily. So that's what I'm going to do with my hand spun. This is about the third time I've tried to record this podcast, and it's going to be heavily edited. Let's put it that way. All right, let's see what else I have. All right, so another finish spin. Organize my stuff here. All right, so I spun another little bit of fiber. This skein here. It's pretty. It's a 2-ply. I spun this on my Lendrum, and this is one tiny bit of this huge package of wool I have. This is Little Wool Company. I found this in my stash too. I think I saw this on Facebook, and somebody had spun some up of this colorway and knitted into this beautiful baby blanket. And so of course, my impulsive self had to order some. It's 500 grams of 29 micron Coriadale. It's machine washable. It's in the Paua shell, P-A-U-A, Paua shell colorway. 500 grams is $25. It's combed. This would be a great fiber for a new spinner to work with. I'm thinking that once I get to, once I make maybe 150 subscribers, that I would put together a little giveaway package. And what I was going to do is take just assorted pieces, things that I have in my stash, some locks, some fleece, maybe some, and make a little package to give away. And I would definitely include some of this because I have quite a lot. And I don't think I'm going to make a sweater out of this. I don't know really what I'm going to do with it. It's spinning up to be like sport weight fingering. So what I did with this is I pulled a long rope of fiber and spun right from the fiber, just spinning the colors as they came. And then I took another section of the fiber and I separated the colors. This is what the woman had done on Facebook. She described how she spun this. It was so pretty. She kind of separated the blue from the purple and the pink and the green. And then she spun them separately. So sort of doing a fractal, like a fractal idea. So yeah, this is one of my treasures that I found in my stash that I'm working on. And boy, is this easy to spin. It's really, really easy to spin. So yeah, that's just really, really pretty. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It's the first superwash wool I've ever spun, so not really a superwash fan, but obviously it has its uses and advantages. So I'm not opposed to using it. I prefer not to. I prefer to just use unadulterated, minimally processed wool. So that's my finished spin. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about today is my fleece spin in preparation that I've been working on. I've been working on Romney, so let me show you here real quick. See if I have my book over here. So this is the fleece, the Field Guide to Fleece by Deb Robeson and Carol Acarius. And this is sort of a smaller version of their other book, which was the Fleece and Fiber Source book here. I think I've talked about these books before. Very well known to spinners. So I was going to just give you a little blurb about what it says about Romney. Now a lot of people think Romney's a carpet wool, because it can tend to be on the coarse side, and it's a very strong fiber, so it's very good for weaving, especially for the warp. But this is what they say in the field guide. This is conservation breed, which I like to support shepherds that are raising conservation animals. And I'll just read the little blurb. The wool of this large, calm, friendly English long wool is versatile and lustrous, with fiber diameters ranging from moderately coarse to fairly fine. Romney fleeces are large and dense, with distinct hanging locks that exhibit bold, uniformed, well-defined crimp that is consistent from butt to tip. You can card, flick, comb, or spin from clean locks. The low grease content means you can even spin a freshly shorn fleece in the grease. Explore diverse preparation methods for hand spinning. Romney fibers are amenable to almost anything. So it says that the staple length is 4 to 8 inches, fiber diameter is 29 to 37 microns, white, black, gray, silver, and brown. So I have 2 fleeces that are Romney. The first one I bought from Sarah Leatherman on Facebook. This is a raw lock. You can see that it's fairly long. I think it's about 6 inches. It's very, very strong. When you look for a fleece to purchase, what you want to do is you want to take one of the locks. This is in the grease, so you want to take one of the locks and you want to pull it. And you don't want to hear any cracking or breaking. If it does that, if it makes that sound, you don't want to buy that fleece. So you can see it's got beautiful crimp structure, and it's got these pointed tips. They fall in distinct locks from the animal. So this one's Loretta. This is the one that I'm combing. It is so beautiful. This is the raw fleece. I think you could, they say this is a good candidate for spinning in the grease because it's not real greasy, like a fine wool, like a merino or a cormo or even Corriedale. But I don't want to gum up my spinning wheel. Maybe someday I might spin in the grease. But so this is the raw lock, and this is the clean. You can see the difference here. Not much difference. In retrospect, I think this is probably an excellent first fleece for somebody. Super easy to wash, not a lot of grease, comes clean really easily. Easily identified lock structure. You don't need any fancy fiber prep tools. What you could do is just use one of my favorite methods is you could just flick the tail, the tip, and the butt end here, and then you'd be ready to spin. So it's quite easy to prep and so easy to spin. I'm what they call I have the heart and hand of a woolen spinner. I love spinning long draw. And I always didn't have the patience for worsted, the short forward draw. And I think the problem was I was using too short of a fiber. Judith McKenzie has a book called The Intentional Spinner. And she claims that if the fleece is 2.5 inches or less, you should card it. And if it's more than 2.5, you should comb it. She's got these rules. But I find that with merino, which is such a short fiber, and you're doing a short forward, you have such a short draft. And I don't have the patience for that. But with the Romney, because it has such a long staple, you can have your hands further apart and you can draft further out. So I'm trying to produce a true worsted spun yarn with this Romney. So I'm drawing it out and pulling it smooth, leaving my backhand stationary. So, and it's actually working out really, really well. So yeah, this fleece is so beautiful. I almost can't tell the difference between the washed and the raw. It's so pretty. I'm a sucker for gray. So last time I spoke to you, I did spin a couple of spindles worth of the yarn, and I wound them up to into a little ball. And then I did knit up a swatch. So this is my little swatch. All I did was a stockinette rectangle. And then I just steam blocked it. I did not wash this yet, but I gave it a good steam. It's really, really pretty. And actually it's surprisingly soft. I mean, this could come against my neck with no difficulty at all. So yeah, I'm gonna have to test out my wheel spun. So I took the fleece, and I've been combing it into these nests. They're so pretty. So fluffy little gray clouds in my basket. And I didn't spin completely 2 bobbins, I spun 2 partial bobbins. And what I'm going to do, look at the shine on that. It's just so shiny, so pretty. Got a little bit of a halo. I'm going to apply these 2 together and then do another test. I think I'm getting fingering, well, I'm actually probably getting more sport weight. So I'm thinking of making the Granito pullover by Joji Locatelli with the yarn. It's like kind of a boxy-ish, not real oversized. I might make it a little bit bigger than what the pattern is, just to showcase the drape of the Romney. If Romney will have a nice, I think it'll flow nice, and I think this would be really, really pretty in that pattern. So I'm gonna apply these together. I'm gonna swatch, and I'm gonna see if it's a decent, if I can get gauge or close to gauge for the pattern. So and see, I think that's the pattern I want to use, but it's pretty much a stockinette jumper or pullover. It's got a little bit of a slip stitch detail along the side, but it's pretty much just a boxy shape. But that's my plan. So I've been really, really happy with this fleece. It's just, yeah, see, I have the I have the raw mixed in with the clean, and you almost can't tell the difference. It's beautiful, beautiful fleece. I do have another Romney that's a white Romney that I just recently picked up, and this fleece her name was Baby, and I also purchased this from a lady on Facebook. This is the raw, and this is the clean. So very, very similar. Yeah, the raw is here. See how shiny it is. This one doesn't have quite the luster. Sometimes they say that the Romney has a demi luster, so not like a Wensleydale or Teeswater or Cotswold will have very, very, very shiny locks. We have sort of a demi luster here, but it also fluffs up quite a bit. So this is the washed again. This is the raw. This is the washed. I combed a little bit of this and spun it here on my spindle. It's a very pretty creamy color. Again, great. It's got a little bit of elasticity, not a lot, but I think it'd make nice socks. It's not supposed to felt very well, so I suppose actually in this book here, let me see how I'm doing on time. Oh, I'm just at 30 minutes. Okay. Clara Parks, this book is by Clara Parks. It's called A Knitter's Book of Yarn. She's got this one and then the Knitter's Book of Wool, and I credit her with really sending me down the rabbit hole of breed specific fibers, and then also my spinning journey, because you know a lot of these fibers you can't get in a commercially prepared yarns, but you can make your own. But she has a pattern in here for a Guernsey sock. that have, well, she calls them Guernsey socks, but they have sort of a lacy pattern. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm a bad podcaster. I can't remember where it is. Sock. Let's see. What's interesting about this book is she talks about not the different types of wool, but she talks about the different types of yarn. And she really goes into detail about singles, 2-ply, 3-ply, etc., and discusses their uses and advantages in different types of projects. So yeah, I think she was really one of the first authors that I had read that really got me into, thinking about these kinds of things. I was thinking this yarn might be good for this pattern right here. Two-ply yarns tend to produce a pebbly surface similar to uncooked rice. It looks especially interesting in stitch patterns that incorporate stockinette with open work and movement. Guernsey styling typically doesn't include the lacy open work, but it certainly does have texture and movement as evidenced in these socks. So I was looking at this pattern and I thought that might be a nice pattern for this yarn here from this Romney. Romney fleece is one of the fibers that they use in Britain to make the Guernsey sweaters, in 5-ply Guernsey sweaters. I have another book here. I have quite an extensive library. Let me see if I can have that. Let's see, 1 second here. Here. This is another book about wool, pure wool. This is by Sue Blacker. She's got breed specific yarns for sale that are absolutely gorgeous. And she talks about Romney here. Let's see. Yeah. Romney yarn. The considerable variations in Romney yarns, we have found wool as fine and soft as Corriedale, but with the added luster, mean it can be used for many things. Ideal for hard-wearing items such as gloves, socks, and jackets. Softer wool can be used for garments worn next to the skin. Coarser examples can be used for durable rugs, mats, and chair seats. And so most of the New Zealand Romney wool goes into carpets, but they do say that the wool is good for hand spinning and easy for beginners. So they made a 5-ply Guernsey yarn. It has this pattern. I'm not interested in making a pullover like this, but I thought it was interesting that Romney is used for this. So it's a strong fleece. Can provide soft, bulky, warm results. The softer, finer fibers are best suited to woolen spinning, and the more mixed and coarser fibers are worst at spun. I'm finding the fleece to be surprisingly soft. So if you're thinking of getting a fleece and you think it might be too coarse in a commercial yarn, like Shetland, for example, I find commercial Shetland to be kind of itchy and scratchy. But I've spun Shetland and it's so much softer, so it's so different. So I think that's the advantage of being able to make your own yarn. So yeah, stay tuned. I may or may not have another example of Romney coming to me soon in the mail. I noticed that I read this, that in the US that they're breeding a lot of these sheep for finer and finer micron count. But I was looking for more of a, because you could see the crimp pattern in this, really pretty. So you might find other Romneys that have more of a wave. It's just very interesting that even if it's the same breed, can have so many different handle of effects. So yeah. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be working on this week, finishing up my sample for my Romney and swatching for that cardigan. So yeah, I think that's about it for today. I feel like I'm rambling. My husband, hi Peach. Peaches is over here. You doing good? Yeah, my husband kind of watched one of my podcasts. He says, so do you have like a plan, like things you're going to talk about? And I said, well, yeah, I do. But, you know, basically I just want to sit and chat, have a conversation with you guys, you great guys out there. I'm finding it really interesting that you make these connections with people that you would never ever meet if it wasn't for this medium of social media. You know, social media can be very negative, but I look at it in a very positive way, in that it's allowed me to make friends with people far and wide, and I think that's the reason I'm doing the podcast. It's not, I don't want to sell anything. I don't want to promote anybody's products. I just want to share what I'm doing, and then I'm on the other hand too interested in what you are also making. So again, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope to do this on a more regular basis. I am working on one of our spare bedrooms to turn into a sort of a studio space where I can organize, you know, my materials and set up a little corner so that I would be able to podcast sort of in privacy and just get these out to you more often, especially as I go back to work. I teach school. I've been teaching for 28 years, and it's a rewarding but also a very challenging job. So I don't know if I'll be able to continue this, but I would really like to in some fashion, even if it's just a monthly little podcast or vlog. I do have to sort of get the courage to do it. I want to be in a good mood. You know, I want to look decent. I have to really, I'm going to let those things go, and I'm just going to try to, you know, be myself and, you know, see what happens. So thank you so much again for tuning in and watching my little podcast, spending some time with me. I hope you're enjoying the weather wherever you are, whether it be in the northern or southern hemispheres. I hope your making is rewarding and you're enjoying whatever it is that you are enjoying, especially you tour de fleecers and knitters, spinners, sewers, etc. You're a wonderful community, and I thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.